Here we go, Fireside Chats Without the Fires, our first actual live episode of 2022. I am, as co-host, co-creator of this podcast, Paul Catherall, who you are not seeing right now. I know what he would say on this Friday morning, or Friday morning for me, Friday afternoon for some of you. He would say, I'm buzzing. I am truly buzzing. This is a true thrill and pleasure to spend a few moments with our customer experience global community, and we have the privilege of having two wonderful guests, two co-authors. By the way, I can also now say that I am a co-author of this wonderful book, Customer Experience4. Hopefully you're seeing it on your screen. For me, it's up in the right-hand corner. We will talk about that book and dive into it. But before we do that, here are our wonderful guests, co-authors, Thirza Schaap and Caroline Maley. Caroline and Thirza, welcome to Fireside Chats Without the Fires.
Awesome.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
As co-authors, we want to ask you some questions about your chapters. We'll get to that in just a second. But for those that are not yet following Thirza or Caroline, just do it on LinkedIn. Follow them. They put out wonderful content. Caroline is the experience strategist at Caroline Maley Consulting, and Thirza is the founder and trainer at CX Unraveled, and she is a lecturer on design thinking and entrepreneurship at Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences. We have some great thought leaders here. Let us get to know you just a little bit. I'll start with Caroline only because you're over here in the upper left for me on my screen. We'll just start with you. Tell us what your chapter is about, what you wrote about, real high level of discussion about that, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an experience strategist, and I come from 15 years on the operational sides of live events and experiences. And now I'm very much working on the strategy side of things, working within companies. And when I was looking at what to write my chapter about, something came to mind straight away. And over the last couple of years, I've been asking basically everybody that I can, whether they knew about it or not, what is one element that makes an incredible experience? And as I started to ask this question, everyone were giving me different responses, obviously based on their expertise, their context, where they were in the world. But there was a lot of commonalities with what they were saying. The underlying messages were the same. And as a result of this exploration, I came up with 4 elements that make an incredible experience. So my chapter is very much focused on experience design, and I go through these 4 elements, which I'm not going to share today. You have to grab the book to see what those are, but I go through each 4 and I explore them, and then I share a couple of strategies relating to those elements that I used at my time on tour with Cirque du Soleil. So I spent 10 years on tour with Cirque du Soleil, running front of house experiences, predominantly the VIP experiences. And I did that in 17 different countries. So it's a bit of storytelling. I share a lot of these strategies through my own experience within that incredible company and running those events.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much. By the way, it's great to hear live events. Some of us are probably thinking, what's that? We've, in the last 2 years, we've forgotten what that is. But exactly. It's great to bring that back into the forefront. And I certainly look forward to reading that. I have read your chapter. It's actually great. So by the way, audience, we will have each of the Customer Experience 4 authors back to Fireside Chats Without the Fires. On an individual basis, we'll have a chance to dive more deeply into their chapters and get into a discussion, debate, conversation, and some Q&A with them. So definitely hold your horses, buy the book, read the chapter, and then you'll come back and you'll hear some discussion with one-on-one with each author. Thank you so much for that, Caroline. It's really nice to hear you. Thirza, tell us about your chapter and tell us a little bit about you for those that are not yet familiar with your work.
Yes. So I'm Thirza. I live in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I learned about customer experience on the job while I was working for KLM Royal Dutch Airlines. I set up the customer experience department there. It was a great challenge, but also loads of fun. And after that, I decided to start helping other organizations and companies create better customer and employee experiences. My chapter is on culture, on customer obsessed culture, because what I realized was you can do a lot in setting up a great framework, creating a strategy, understanding your customer, measuring how you're doing it, designing new processes and services. But if your company culture is not customer focused, your customers are going to feel that. And it's one of the most difficult things to realize because culture is something which is not super tangible. But during my experience at KLM and also with numerous other companies afterwards, I figured out there are 7 things you can practically influence to come towards a more customer-obsessed culture. And you have to think about things like training, about leadership, really important one, but also things like rituals that you can instill in a company to make sure customers come much more to the forefront. So that's a little bit about what my chapter is about.
I have read it. I'm a huge proponent of the importance of culture. It's really hard to influence. Steering culture is we'll get into it. Is it really true? I promised I wasn't going to ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I'm going to give it to myself. So we hear, at least over in the US, I don't know if this is something that you hear commonly outside the US, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. Is that true?
For dinner and for lunch.
There we go. You heard it. Culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I love it. Yeah. Okay. A final note on Customer Experience 4. So this is kind of a situation that's in flux. What we are told by the amazing creators of this series, Naeem Arif and Andrew Priestley, that the results back from Amazon have this book in most countries throughout the world as the best-selling book currently in the customer experience field. And I think that's only going to continue to grow. You can now get the book electronically through Kindle, I think regardless of whatever country you happen to be in. You can now get it, I believe they're accepting orders for the paperback version, at least in the US. And I think as well, maybe Thirza or Caroline, outside the US, is it also available by paperback?
Yeah, it is. I know for sure Australia, definitely. I'm not sure about Europe yet.
Yeah, so some European countries, but not everything yet. So it's slowly rolling out.
Yeah.
That's great. And the even greater thing about this is it costs less than $1, less than £1, less than €1, less than a fill in the blank currency of whatever country you're in. It is really affordable. It's easy to just click. You don't need to feel bad about what you just spent. And what's great about this book and each chapter, as well as the previous editions, Customer Experience 3, 2, and 1, is they're really fast and easy to consume. This is not something that's going to be difficult. It's not something that's going to require a lot of effort. These are fun chapters. You're going to learn from them. They're going to provoke your thoughts, and they're going to help you in your work as a customer experience, whatever you are, practitioner, professional, thought leader, author, or just simply as a customer. I am really thrilled once again to be back in this position in Fireside Chats Without the Fires, because I get to spend time eating strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I love it. Paul just did a great job posting that. Perfect timing. I love it. Well done, Paul. As I was saying, I get to spend time with these authors that have invested a lot of time and effort into perfecting their craft. As we said before, Caroline and Thirza, please, we will schedule times for you to come back, as well as having the other authors. And I look forward to healthy conversations, understanding your work, understanding your contributions, your thoughts, your ideas. We may even debate them a little bit. Some of these things get a little bit controversial. My chapter certainly is controversial. I just leave that out there. I look forward to hopefully someone reading it and someone telling me I'm effing crazy, because some of the things might stir the pot a little bit, and I'm okay with that. That's the fun we have on this podcast. So to wrap up today, I believe Paul posted the link in the comment section where you can buy this. All you need to do, most of us are, utilize Amazon. You know how to use Amazon. Just do a search for Customer Experience 4, and it pops up really quickly. It's easy. Click, 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 and you're done. Read it. Happy reading. Happy thinking. Caroline and Thirza, thank you so much for joining us. As I said to them, and I say finally to the audience, buy the book, buy the book, buy the book. Happy Friday to everyone. Thirza and Caroline, thank you once again so much for your time. Happy Friday to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having
Cheers.
us.
Bye.